Hey, I'm Mark Goodman.
And I'm Alan Light.
On today's podcast, in celebration of International Guitar Month, Pete Townsend of The Who will join us.
Pete went deep with us into his relationship with the guitar and with music in general, the new Broadway version of Tommy. He clarified the status and the future of The Who, and much, much more.
Sound Up with Mark Goodman and Alan Light, the only music podcast that matters. Get it on Pandora, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts.
Yo, check this out. This is Chuck, the Public Enemy. You are tuned in right here, right now, to the library. Keep it locked with Tim Einico right here on rapstation.com.
Okay. CLS, all black Mercedes, dipping through the city. You know I attract them ladies looking for a good time.
Backpack Travels is the new collaborative LP from legendary Brooklyn MC Buckshot and New Zealand bass producer P Money. The 10-track album features guest appearances from Steele of Smif-N-Wessun, Joey Badass, and CJ Fly of Pro Era, and others. With that, I want to thank the co-owner of Duck Down Music and lead MC from Black Moon and Bootcamp Click, Buckshot, for joining me on the library with Tim Einico on rapstation.com. Thanks for being here, man.
Yo, thank you for having me, man. Thank you very much for having me and making me a part of this. You know what I'm saying? So that's a blessing.
Cool, definitely, anytime. So, this album, Backpack Travels, seems to have been created to really allow yourself to take ownership of the term, quote-unquote, backpack rapper. Kind of take a term that has meant to be a diss, but kind of flip it to mean like, this is real rapping. What did you want people to think of when they use the term backpack rapper? And then also, what was this the mission of the album?
Yeah, the mission of the album and the whole point of the album was pretty much for people to get a new understanding of the term backpack. When I made the album, I wanted people to understand that the term backpack was no longer a negative thing, the way most people created it to be at some point in time. Because in the public, people created the term backpack to be something that they was not a part of. Like, people started to hear the term backpack and feel like, oh, that's that other rap.
Yeah.
But everything goes through a phase. Everything, as far as especially hip hop, everything goes through a phase. It was started out with one style of hip-hop. We went to another style of hip-hop. Anything that's popular was dictated, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So it doesn't really matter. And that's just how life goes. People got to understand that life is that way. So if the underground is popping, cool. If the commercial jump off is popping, cool. I mean, there was a point in time, a lot of people don't know, we had the Jungle Brothers, man, and that meant that house music was popping at one time, and that was jumping in hip-hop. So it's not about trying to claim one thing as the official hip-hop. It is about saying that hip-hop is a versatile art form, and that's what I wanted people to get from the message of the Backpack Travels. If there was a message, it's say, be proud of the art form and not get caught up in, oh, this is real, that ain't real, this is real, that, because I never was down with that, and I never had a chance to really spread that message. People thought I was the number one guy that was promoting underground as that's the true hip-hop. There is no true hip-hop. Hip-hop is the true hip-hop.
Oh, nice, cool. I want to actually get more into the album. The first track on the album is called Crown. It's the intro.
Yeah.
This is my introduction. This is my introduction. This is my introduction.
It's kind of as if you're kind of reintroducing yourself to us. So I'm kind of figuring out, like, you've been around for a while. Why use this as like a way of reintroducing yourself?
Because I'm not one of them MCs who feel like people should know me. They should know me by now. People know who I am, blah, blah, blah. I'm not one of them MCs or one of them artists. I'm very humble, and a lot of times humble could get you hurt in the heart of the jungle, but this is one of those times where I just let people know, here is the Buckshot that you guys don't know, and this is for especially the artists that's on the album. He's a young artist, my son age, younger than my son, stuff like that. So to those artists, to those MCs in the crowd, I got to introduce who I am and say, yo, this is Buckshot, you know. And I said in the introduction, I said, you can't turn a rock into a bright diamond ring. You know, a rock is a rock, a diamond is a diamond. They're both solid, but one is not shining. That's the point. You know, it's like no matter what you do, we all have a destination to do something. And I don't even want everybody to think they was designed to be a producer or an artist and mess up on the other things. So that's what Crown is really just introducing Buckshot.
Life, I've learned one thing. You can't turn the rock into a bright diamond ring. A rock is a rock, a diamond is a diamond. Both solid as hell, but one not shining. Maybe it's
another track Just Begun featuring Raz Fresco.
Yeah, my boy Raz and the whole Baker. Shout out to Raz and the Bakers Club.
Nice. It really comes off as like a kind of a hip hop career advice track. And in it, but in a positive way, like, you know, and it seems like you address. Is it a way of addressing MCs who have no business being in the art form, or is it more of a kind of a way of trying to see these MCs and say, you guys have potential? Here's a way of not becoming a one-hit wonder.
Yeah, basically the second thing you said. That was a good way to put it, and that was basically a perfect way to put it. Like I don't even know how to say anything behind what you just said, because you just reached into the depths of what it really is and what that track is saying, and that's why the title of it is Just Begun, you know, because not only am I giving you the advice, but for the people that say, oh, you know, he's an OG, he's giving us advice, blah, 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 I'm saying, yeah, you can say that. I'm definitely on that level, but I've just begun.
Nice.
You know, I've just begun this game because who I am as a person that put people on. I think that's what I want people to know.
My son, not just begun. You know what I'm saying? I'm number one. Jump off. First of all, you're hustling backwards. Talking about you getting money for action. You a stupid motherfucker, and you know it for asking. Who wanna get paid for a couple of claps, man? That's when I see careers collapsing. Fall like brick buildings from the ashes. Now even though they know they getting...
Another great track, which I really like, is Flute, featuring Pro Era members Joey Badass and CJ Fly. You kind of,
word.
Which I think is great. You talk about your personal progression as an artist in the culture. You know, you mentioned you've gone from breaking to beatboxing.
Break dancing was hot and I was a dancer. Switched to the beatbox and now I'm the man. Cause when the chicks hear brrr, stick 'em, they think that I'm on and won't get with 'em. Even when I was young, I peeped rhythm that they ain't worth most of this shit that we give 'em. Life like heads and tails.
What was the mission of this track?
Same thing, you know, and I'm glad you pulled that out once again. Like, I didn't want people to keep getting the wrong impression, because so many people got the total 100% wrong impression of me. But as far as like I said, this dude that just stand around with his arms folded, don't listen to nothing but underground music, started off as a rapper, grabbing the mic, blah, blah, blah. You know, people don't have no clue about who I really am. So I gave them just like a real tiny percentage when I said, you know, I started out beatboxing, you know, and then I went to rapping, you know, so that way people could feel comfortable about even if they're a beatboxer. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
They feel like, oh, I thought anything else besides rapping on the mic was corny and it was chump and blah, blah. So now people will start feeling like, oh, okay. And again, we got Joey Badass on there, CJ Fly. You know, that's the Pro Era kids of today. What could be better than that? Because people can pretty much like connected us from back in the day. Like people say, you know, I would compare Joey and CJ to like Buckshot and Smif-N-Wessun, which is not a bad comparison at all, because you know, because if you listen to all their songs, they do give you the feel of the 90s with today's vibe. So it's incredible, you know.
Right. I read in past interviews you've also mentioned about the track Flute, that you kind of see it as a way of kind of passing the baton.
Yeah.
So I was wondering, do you think the commercial success of rap has caused, I mean, the fact that let's say like the way when you started out, right? Rap was not played on every radio station. You remember like Z100 in New York City was proud not to play rap music.
Yeah, you're right.
So so now, I always feel that since that was the case, you guys had this great opportunity, or you acknowledged MCs before you, but you also acknowledged music that wasn't rap music. You did soul, R&B, even rock music. Yeah. Do you think the problem with, maybe not a bad way, but a problem with today's MCs is that they just see wealth, they see a rapper's wealth, and they just try to copy that rapper as opposed to kind of pulling from the past?
No question. You know what I'm saying? You got to think about it. That you just hit on the head again. Like, you should just do the interview yourself. No question at all, because you got to understand the generation has melted away. So if we didn't keep up the generation, which we didn't, then the whole thing would melt away. Why? Because people from the 70s, when we were sampling rap, we were sampling music from the 70s. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? And this was in the late 80s, early 90s. People got to remember, man, that was 10 years before its time. So when you look at rap now, I came out 20 years ago, bro. So for me to even be doing this right now, that means hip-hop must have did something crazy, because people was comparing, oh, you sampling that old stuff. You sampling that old stuff like James Brown or this person or Patrice Rushen or whatever. But these artists wasn't that old. It was from 10, 15 years before our time, which was the 70s, you know? So to think that, oh, we were sampling from the artists from the 30s. No, we were sampling artists from 10, 15 years before we came out, you know, and hip-hop, you know, caused such a boom that it made people forget about age being there. So it's like you forget that, you know, Smif-N-Wessun or Buckshot or Mobb Deep or Biggie, that was 20 years ago, you know, and not 10 years, you know. Yeah. So if you was to sample some of us, that would be a comparison to that time. So what happened was, we as a generation had to keep up the bigging up of the past artists and stuff like that. So what happened was, some of our generation started to have kids. And when they had kids, a lot of them wanted to stay, you know, hip to their kids and stuff like that. So they would only big up the music that their kids was currently listening to. They wouldn't play all the old soul records like how our parents did.
Oh, interesting, yeah.
You know? Yeah. So you right away, there's a generation lost, music lost, respect lost, a whole bunch of things lost, because they're not bigging up, you know, soul records, hip-hop records, or whatever records that they grew up on. The children of today, they only know the records and the music that they grew up on. So if that's pure hip-hop, then that's what it is. The kids will only know pure hip-hop.
Right. I mean, there's a reason why, like, James Brown is the most sampled artist on a hip-hop record.
I mean, he was at one time.
At one time,
you know,
sure.
Because we respected what soul music brung, and what, you know, funk brung, and what R&B brung. Like, we respected that because we didn't have access to all this new stuff as far as synthetic music, computerized music. We didn't have access to that. So when we was doing the soul and the funk and the jazz and all that, it was incredible, because every person that was on that track was on that track. You know, there was a flute guy, there was a horn guy, there was a drummer, keyboard. So if all these people are individualized, every person is waking up to say, when I wake up tomorrow, I'm going to do the best job you could ever imagine. So imagine a track where everybody on it is going crazy. Right. That's what we had back in the days. We didn't have a whole computer that could simulate what we do. Doesn't create what we do, it simulates what we do.
The flow is more intact. In fact, it's overflowing overseas. Don't believe me? Get your boy and see. Get your boy and sink. The flow got buoyancy. Them pro ever boys and sink. Raps written in poison ink. Applause the loud noises. Thinks I face L's, but I'm the best out in the ring. Just to think, these rappers like fighters. The Mike Tyson I acquire is not retired nor tired. To attract is it's required.
Hey, I'm Mark Goodman.
And I'm Alan Light.
On today's podcast, in celebration of International Guitar Month, Pete Townsend of The Who will join us.
Pete went deep with us into his relationship with the guitar and with music in general, the new Broadway version of Tommy. He clarified the status and the future of The Who, and much, much more.
Sound Up with Mark Goodman and Alan Light, the only music podcast that matters. Get it on Pandora, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts.